I mean, first of all, we are a highly regulated industry, as you imagine, cigarettes, and we're transforming the company to move away from cigarettes into smoke-free products that are less harmful for 1 billion people. Now, these transformations don't happen very easily because it's across your supply chain and across your own company. To give you an example, and the first principle that is not widely accepted in public-private sector partnerships is the very principle sometimes of governments to work with the public sector, to work with the private sector, because from ideology to whatever reason, it's very difficult to establish that very first relationship. The second thing, clearly, and I would use an example that is very true, we work with hundreds of thousands of farmers worldwide. All these new products use less tobacco. So over time, there will be less, and you need to help the farmers change. For that, a farmer that produces a crop like tobacco, it's not a publicly traded commodity, so you buy directly. There are no price fluctuations, so they're very used to have a very stable income. All of a sudden, you want to help them convert into other crops. The farmer wants to have certainty that at least 4 or 5 first years, he's going to sell what you ask him to produce. They have no experience in this product. Alone, you cannot do it. I cannot buy soybeans. So you need absolutely to find partnerships with other companies and local non-government organizations that help this transformation. You can put the money, you can put the effort. You have to be local, to your point. You cannot do it. We work with countries like Malawi for years. If you are not having presence there and make things happen, they don't happen, okay? Or it takes time. So the question is how you create the forum in which, as you said, companies find each other and a common interest. And it's not easy. It's not yet, in my view, orchestrated, even under the United Nations. Maybe there is too much need of control from governments and from the United Nations of the process of the UNGA Sustainable Goals. And I think the effort has been made to create this forum. We participate, there is the World Council for Sustainable Development, for example, that tries to create these forums. I'm sure there are other forums. And it has to become an interest. So we are trying to work with food companies, in my specific example, with others. And you need to dedicate absolutely parts of your organization in doing this. It's a day-to-day work. As we all know, ventures, partnerships take time. But I will come back to, a little bit the bigger picture here that we're discussing before. We talk about climate change quite a lot. There are many other challenges and stressors on the human system, from acidification and plastification of the oceans to the soils becoming less and less productive over time because we use fertilizers and so on. And fundamentally, regulation, because typically everybody says we need more regulation. Yes, more regulation can give it incentives for people to innovate. You have a carrot and stick strategy. But at the end of the day, it's about convincing people around the world to behave differently. Even in our case, trying to convince people who smoke and don't quit to switch to less probably harmful products that give them the same satisfaction, it's a very difficult thing to do. Convincing people to use solar panels for energy rather than the easiness of turning on the electricity, in theory is better, but it's not easy. So you need to explain to people constantly, consumers, what the problem is you try to resolve. Give them alternatives. We cannot just say we're going to change the world without bringing from the private sector new solutions to the problems. Otherwise, people tell you, okay, I got it, I have a problem, but what am I going to do about this? And then give them incentives. They can be fiscal, they can be regulatory, and hope that this will happen. And just by expecting governments to do something only, it's not going to happen. I think we all agree. We need to have the private sector, we need to have NGOs or other organizations working together. But the forums, and I think here is a good place, the forums must be established, and that should be the effort.